the hour. Let's get right into it. We're going to begin with the Ravens, a talented roster, of course, with Lamar Jackson at the center of that, but lots of changes on the horizon for Baltimore, right? The offense will look different with new OC Declan Doyle taking over, and that has many wondering just how different will it look, right? What can we expect from Lamar and everybody around him? So Ravens tight end Mark Andrews is excited about the changes coming to the offense. He said, quote, "This is a different offense than we've been a part of since we got into the league. It's totally different than anything we've done. I think Lamar is going to make it his own, adapt to it, and be the best that there is." That's the type of person that he is, and that's the type of guys and coaches that we have. I think that's a scary sight when you see Lamar Jackson adding new things to his repertoire. I would agree, right? We'll dive into that in just a moment. But a new offense has led to success throughout Lamar's career. This is the third time that the Ravens have hired a new OC since drafting him in 2018. And the previous two times, he won NFL MVP in the first year with the new OC. He won 13 games in both of those MVP seasons with Greg Roman in 2019 and Todd Monken in 2023. So, Ben, how do you expect this offense to look different with Doyle now running the show?
I think it's less about how it looks different and more about how it actually sounds different. Declan Doyle comes from the Sean Payton tree and the Ben Johnson tree. Those are really wordy trees. Those coaches like to put a lot of language into their play calls. So the big difference that you hear Doyle talking about in minicamp is about stressing the guys out and making them really execute the details, because remember, Lamar doesn't have his center there in Tyler Linderbaum anymore. It's going to be a really new and inexperienced guy. So the big challenge for Lamar is going to be about getting in and out of the huddle. Once the ball is snapped, Doyle wants to throw to the middle of the field. Lamar is elite at throwing to the middle of the field. Doyle wants to get under center. Well, Lamar gets under center a lot more than the other hyper-mobile quarterbacks do. The personnel might be a little different. You'll probably see more three receiver sets. But to me, it's much more about the operation in Baltimore. If they can get the offense installed well, then they should take off fast in September. And yeah, that third MVP might be in the cards.
It's a great point about how losing Tyler Linderbaum is going to affect this change. Ben, you said a couple of things I think that are important to stress here. Lamar being under center, Lamar throwing over the middle of the field. There are a few offenses right now across the league transitioning to this sort of offense. Philadelphia, Washington, we're going to talk about later. It is the current trend in the NFL. But of all of those offenses, or all those quarterbacks rather, Lamar Jackson is the one I worry about the least, because as Ben said, he has been elite over the last 5 years under center, first in QBR, throwing over the middle of the field, second only to Justin Herbert. In fact, he's better throwing over the middle field than he is to outside the numbers, so I see a fantastic fit. My question is less about Lamar Jackson in the new offense and more about everybody else. The offensive line without Tyler Linderbaum, obviously that's a change, but also Linderbaum was an elite zone blocking center. Can they still execute that zone run game, which I think will be an emphasis? And then will they be able to use as many heavy personnel groupings? Major changes with Patrick Ricard, the fullback on, lost 2 tight ends as well. So I do think Declan Doyle is going to have to figure out how to bend this offense to the receivers they have, perhaps more so than the quarterback.
Yeah, and Mark Andrews said something interesting there. He said Lamar's going to adapt to this offense and make it his own. You know, we often talk about things from the coordinator down to the quarterback. How will the coordinator, install his system and the quarterback will get there? Well, when you're Declan Doyle and you've really only coached for some Sean Payton quarterbacks, those tend to be pocket guys, and 1 year of Caleb Williams, you then get Lamar, and the way he can change geometry on the field, the way you can play 11 on 11, you also dramatically adapt your system to the fact that you now play a different sport when you have that level of a dual threat quarterback. So there's give and there's take. That's why, in September, think about the Bears last year. It might not be perfect. There's going to be procedural issues. It won't be great. By October, November, you might see something special in Baltimore.
Yeah, the Ravens are currently the favorite to win the AFC at DraftKings, just ahead of the Bills. We are getting into Washington later, like Mina mentioned. They have a new OC, too. We'll talk a lot about that today. Let's go to Tampa Bay next, where the Bucs still don't have a deal in place for quarterback Baker Mayfield. He's been around. He was there for all offseason activity, but they have yet to reach an agreement. So Baker, who has been talking to the media through a lot of this, he addressed the contract situation again over the weekend. Here's what he said.
I would love to be there. I think both sides want to get it done. Now it's a matter of finding that middle ground and what makes both sides happy. But we've, like I fell in love with Norman, our family. We fell in love with Tampa, and it's a great place to raise kids and be around. So regardless of what happens, I think we'll spend our off seasons there. Obviously, it's a little brutally hot, but it's good for training. But I want to be there long term. They've treated me right, and it's the first place I've gotten to that feels like Oklahoma when it comes down to football is football. How can they put you in the best position to have success on the field, and how can they give their resources to help you out? And so it's a great place.
It's interesting. He said even if this doesn't happen, it feels like this is going to happen, right? But he's still planning to spend his off seasons in Tampa. That's how much he loves it there. What more can you add to the Baker situation?
Yeah, Laura, I just checked on this. I'm told that the Bucs and Baker Mayfield have not made any progress on a new deal since he made those original comments in May that he wants a deal and he needs it before training camp. But neither side is worried, I'm told, because they got 5 weeks here to hash this out. I expect some movement closer to mid to late July when players are about to report. Mayfield wants to report. He wants no issues here. This seems pretty clear-cut. There are 11 different players in the NFL that make over $50 million per year. Mayfield's not in that club. He feels like he's probably outplayed a few of those guys.
Yeah.
So he's hoping to be somewhere in that range. And talking to people around the league, they do expect him to be paid a
Yeah, when you throw up that list you're referencing, it's like anybody who knows football would be like, yeah, Baker deserves to make more money here, and he should be where he wants to be. Ben, let's take us on the field in Tampa. What are your expectations for that Bucs offense if Baker, we're assuming, if he's out there?
They're quite high still. This is a really good offensive line when Tristan Wirfs and Luka Decky are healthy. And then they did lose Mike Evans at wide receiver, but man, Emeka Egbuka, the second-year player, you got to get excited, all right? Zach Robinson, the new OC there, is talking about him like he's Cooper Kupp, all right? You know, he reminds me of Kupp. Kupp took the Triple Crown in 2021 with the Rams when Robinson was there. So we're talking about a guy who can be a very high-volume player at all three levels of the field. You saw the first 5 weeks of the season. Egbuka was lighting up the scoreboard, has a hamstring injury in week 6, and all of a sudden the speed goes down. He's stuck on the outside against press coverage because their wide receivers were all injured. He's going to get moved around a lot. And Baker really loves to funnel targets to his wide receiver one. Has always been a guy who's just throwing tight windows, throwing one-on-ones, let your star players make plays for you. So if Egbuka is what we think he is, what he was when he was healthy, then the Bucs still have that elite receiver talent. They have a great offensive line, and Robinson's a good schemer. This should be a good offense with a healthy Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, they talked so much, the Bucs offense did, even just about how Egbuka was so mature. He was so football IQ forward, even in his rookie year. You expect that to improve as well. Jeremy, Baker not alone, though, in looking for a new deal. Take us through some other names, some teammates, starting right there in Tampa with Vita Vea.
Yeah, let's talk money. Vita Vea, he wants a new deal. He's due $17 million in non-guaranteed money in the last year of the original deal he did about 4 years ago. So it's outdated. He feels it's outdated. He wants more money, and this is going to have to give at some point. My sense is the Bucs are going to handle Baker Mayfield first and then come around to Vita Vea. But I believe that he's willing to at least sit out some of those early workouts to try to get this done. So a lot of contractual issues in Tampa that they got to hash out. Brandon Ayuk, this one's a little different because there could be an Instagram video posted anytime while we're doing this broadcast. But for now, he is on the left squad list. He hasn't applied for a reinstatement. He has to do so formally with the NFL. And the 49ers haven't tipped their hand what they're going to do here, but they don't have a lot of incentive to need to do anything because he's not on the roster. They could even go after some signing bonus money if this gets really ugly. So that is status quo. And then you got Christian Gonzalez. This one's interesting because he's worked himself into top 3 cornerback status because of what he did last year as a premier outside corner. The Patriots trying to get this done, but it's been pretty slow as far as a new contract. So when he gets one, or if he gets one, he will be the highest paid cornerback in the NFL, which is something New England hasn't done a lot of. You know, they brought in some big free agents of yet, but as far as paying their own guys top of market, it's not something the Patriots typically do.
Yeah, Christian Gonzalez missed the first 3 games last season with a hamstring injury, and the Patriots started 1-2. People don't remember that, but allowing the 3rd worst completion percentage in the NFL. That's just his impact on display. They were a different team with him in the lineup, going 16-2, including the playoffs, giving up just 174 pass yards per game. Mina, those numbers kind of tell the story here, but how important is Gonzalez to this Pats defense?
He's so important to this team, such a fundamental part of that young core. When I think about the postseason last year and how much success they had blitzing more, playing more man coverage, you can't do that without Christian Gonzalez, who, by the way, was excellent also in the Super Bowl, which, of course, they lost. This Patriots defense, the strength is the 2 defensive tackles and the 2 cornerbacks. He is fundamental to this defense in terms of leaning into that strength. They got to find a way to get a deal done. Cornerback salaries have skyrocketed as of late. Unfortunately for them, he is one of the best cornerbacks in the league and deserves to be paid as such.
Yeah, to that point, Gonzalez, one of the bright spots in the Patriots Super Bowl loss, 3 pass breakups and 4 solo tackles. To a developing story now, as a Florida judge found probable cause for Lions cornerback Terrion Arnold to face charges of armed robbery and kidnapping Monday, but denied prosecutors' motion that he will be held without bond. Arnold's bond was set at $1 million with conditions that he has no contact with others associated with the case, surrender his passport within 48 hours, and that he will be confined to his home. Just in from our Adam Schefter in the last 5 minutes, the Lions announced they have released Terrion Arnold from jail. He had 2 years and just under they've released Terrion Arnold. He had 2 years and just under $2 million left on his rookie contract. We'll continue to bring you up. Got the news this morning that former Titans, Jets, and Cardinals running back Chris Johnson announced that he was diagnosed last year with ALS, a disease that attacks nerve cells that control muscles throughout the body and for which there is no known cure. He told his story to Michael Strahan on ABC's Good Morning America earlier today.
You've chosen to share some personal news today, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to share it. What would you like for people to know?
First, I want people to know that I'm still me. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
In 2025, at the age of 39, Johnson was diagnosed with ALS, the disease progressing so rapidly that he now uses his eyes to trigger a speech-generating device to speak. Why do you want to share this now?
Because if sharing my story helps even one person get diagnosed sooner, inspires more research, or gives another family hope, then it's worth it.
Johnson says he was in the prime of his life, working out daily and running errands with his 4 children until ALS changed everything. Let's go back to last year. When did you notice that something was off?
I first noticed weakness in my right hand. At first, it was little things like my grip didn't feel right, and I wasn't as strong as I've always been.
His wife, Brittany, thought it was something much simpler. Brittany, what did you think it was at the time?
I thought because of football and, his career that it had to be something with that, maybe a pinched nerve or something along those lines, but never ALS.
And what did doctors tell you initially about your condition?
We hoped it was something else, but after thorough testing, they finally came down with a diagnosis of ALS. They told us about a medication that might extend life by a few months. Then they told us to get our affairs in order. It was hard hearing that, but after watching Good Morning America and seeing Dr. Merritt with Eric Dane, we reached out to her. She was willing to think more creatively, offering experimental treatments that might help and advance research.
Dr. Merritt Sikovich is a neurologist and leading ALS researcher at Mass General Brigham Neuroscience Institute.
Chris has been on standard of care, which is about 3 different medications that slow down the illness, but he was also part of a clinical trial, a therapy that decreases inflammation, and I think that helped him a lot.
With no family history of ALS, doctors believe his is a case of sporadic ALS, the most common form of the disease, affecting about 90% of patients, occurring randomly in people with no known family history of ALS.
That's one of the reasons this disease can be so shocking. It can happen to someone who never expected it.
And for me, it's shocking. It's hard to process it for me because I know you, Chris, from just the incredible athlete that you are. How do you process it?
Honestly, I don't know if you ever fully process it. At first, you're in shock. Then you realize you have 2 choices. You can give up or you can fight. I chose to fight.
And Brittany, what was it like for you when you found out that Chris had ALS?
All I could think about was our kids and how young they are. Just, you're in denial. You want it to be anything else. You want the doctors to be wrong. The life that we previously had is like now a thing of the past. But we're still hopeful. We're hopeful, that a breakthrough will happen and that, or, God, a miracle will happen,
And what kind of support has helped you the most through this?
Without a doubt, my wife, Brittany, she hasn't left my side through any of this. My kids are also a huge part of why I keep going. Every day I wake up wanting more time with them to make more memories and just be their dad. They give me a reason to keep fighting.
Love it.
I know, Brittany, the unsung heroes are the caregivers.
Like, we have good days, we have bad days, Our life has shifted so much, and it's a heavy workload, but I have no doubt that this is what, I was called to do.
So how has it progressed since you've been diagnosed?
It's continued to progress much faster than I ever imagined. I want people to understand just how quickly ALS can attack your body. Just over a year ago, I was picking up my 7-year-old daughter so she make a wish with her birthday cake. Today, I couldn't do that.
And what do you hope people, or you wish people understood about living with ALS?
That your mind stays sharp. People sometimes look at the physical disability and assume you're not still the same person inside. I still think the same, I still dream, I still love my family. My body just doesn't cooperate.
What are the doctors telling you about the treatment and the progression?
Having doctors who are willing to collaborate and explore every reasonable option has meant a lot to my family and me. Right now there isn't a cure, but we're seeing more research, more clinical trials, and more promising ideas than ever before. Seeing how hard these doctors and researchers are working gives me hope. As long as they're fighting for people with ALS, I'm going to keep fighting too.
Titans controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk released a statement on behalf of the organization that read in part, "Learning this news is extremely difficult, and we will support Chris every step of the way throughout his journey. We're holding him and his family close and join our fans around the world in expressing our love for Chris." The sports world rallying around Chris Johnson after the news of his ALS diagnosis. Messages of support coming from everywhere, including his former college team. East Carolina University expressed love and support for their former star, tweeting, "We love you." Patrick Mahomes sending his prayers, writing, "Man, praying for CJ2K." And former Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman reflecting on Johnson's career, calling him one of his favorite guys to watch and compete against and an ultimate competitor. This story, just another reminder of how cruel life can be sometimes. You just never know when your whole life can change. But it doesn't mean we can't reflect on the great times. And Chris Johnson's magic on the football field deserves to be celebrated too. His 2,509 scrimmage yards in the 2009 season is a record that stands today still. As we head to break, let's look back at the 2000.
Three of them: Atlanta, Cleveland, and Minnesota.
With League Win, you can lose your job at any point in time.
Competition has been around us our entire lives.
The Falcons are one of two teams, along with the Steelers, who have had a different opening day starting quarterback in each of the past 5 seasons. If Mike Tagovailoa to an Atlanta starting job, he would become the first Falcons quarterback since Matt Ryan in 2020 and 2021 to start a season opener in 2 straight seasons. But with Ryan now being the president, new general manager Ian Cunningham, and new head coach Kevin Stefanski, it wouldn't surprise many if the Falcons had a new opening day starter yet again. The Falcons already are touting Tagovailoa's accuracy, which they believe is the most important trait a quarterback can have.
Tua, just in his career, has that innate God-given ability.
The Browns have gone from hearing their owner Jimmy Haslam describe the Deshaun Watson trade as a big swing and miss to proclaiming that Watson has a legitimate chance to be Cleveland's opening day starting quarterback this season.
One of my favorite baseball players that I've been watching is Bryce Harper. Sometimes he swings, but he stands back up and he gets another opportunity and he hits home run.
Right now, Watson is the favorite. But to start the team's 2026 opener at Jacksonville, he'll have to beat out Shedeur Sanders, who has made noticeable strides during the team's recent offseason workouts. And the Vikings starting quarterback job looks like it will come down to Kyler Murray and J.J. McCarthy.
It's just like 2 guys in a classroom. He sits on one side, I sit on the other side, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us.
So I'm considered a veteran, even though I don't see myself as that. Give him any knowledge that he needs.
But few teams have gotten more out of seasoned quarterbacks than Minnesota. There have been 7 quarterbacks, including Kirk Cousins and Sam Darnold, who are on their second team or later when they led the Vikings to at least 10 wins in a season. Now, if he can vanquish McCarthy, and he believes he can, Murray will aim to do the same. Training camp is almost here, and so are the accompanying quarterback battles.
I don't know, just as a fan, I'm really excited to see how all these shake out. Jeremy Fowler back with us. Take us through what you know about some of these situations. Let's start in Minnesota.
Laura, J.J. McCarthy and Kyler Murray have been going back and forth in the spring, 50-50 split. That's how head coach Kevin O'Connell wanted it, and that will continue in training camp, where they're going to go at it for a few weeks, and it'll be based on feel when O'Connell feels like he has the starter he wants. But they're going to be in pads finally, 11-man work. That one's going to heat up. Now, most people I've talked to around the league expect Kyler Murray to win this job. However, McCarthy has made improvements. The Vikings asked him this offseason to improve his ability to throw at different speeds, not just a fastball every time. He has answered the bell in that area. And you got the Browns, Deshaun Watson versus Shedeur Sanders. So Watson has had the leg up, but as was told to me by somebody with the team, that Shedeur Sanders made enough strides where he's closed the gap at least somewhat. It's going to be interesting starting camp, and they're nowhere near naming a starter yet. They want to see not only training camp action, but some preseason game action too, to see what these two guys can do. Most around the league, similar to Murray, do expect Watson, the veteran, to get this job. Now you got Atlanta. This one's unique because Michael Penix hasn't really been able to make this a battle yet. He's been limited to 7-on-7 work in the spring. He's hoping to graduate to 11-man work and be cleared for contact some point in training camp. In the meantime, I'm told from a source there in Atlanta that Tua Tagovailoa has been really accurate, that stood out. That also is something that head coach Kevin Stefanski is on record of saying is the most important thing for a quarterback. So that gives Tua certainly a leg up leading into all this, and hopefully a stopgap option for Atlanta. Then you got the Raiders. Kirk Cousins, the expectation is he's well positioned to be the early season starter. And talking to people in Vegas, they say, look, Mendoza will be ready when he's ready. And that's kind of a nice feeling that they don't really have to rush him into week one action until he's fully prepared. He's been going, learning the under center, play action stuff with Clint Kubiak's offense. Now they're leaving a little wiggle room if he shows up for training camp and just wows everybody and takes the job.
Yeah.
He could play, but they're going to do it when he's fully ready. There's a plan that they're just not trying to rush him right now.
All right, so the Raiders open the season at home against the Dolphins, then they're on the road at the Chargers and the Saints. And I only mention the schedule because you just wonder when Raiders fans are going to be like, we want to see Mendoza. Maybe Cousins is going to be incredible if he gets to start early on, and they don't say that, but they might. All right, Ben Solak's been busy writing over on ESPN.com. Focus on the biggest questions surrounding the new coordinators around the league, which, of course, holds a ton of weight in how all of this is going to start out. We begin in Detroit with new OC Drew Petzing, where Ben asked the question, can he coach around the line? So, Ben, we're going to put you right to work answering your own question. Can Petzing coach around that O-line?
Yeah, you need to read the article, Laura. I shouldn't give you this answer for free, all right? You got to click the link.
I did.
I think he can. It's something he did well with the Cardinals, but it's important to note, we forget easily just how good that Lions offensive line was during the Ben Johnson era, right? Now, they've lost 4 of 5 starters from that group, and the 5th returning starter, Penei Sewell, is flipping from right tackle to left tackle. This is a very questionable group, and you saw that expressed last year in the Lions' explosive run rate. It was 21st in the league. With Jahmyr Gibbs, you should be getting more explosive runs, all right? That should be what your offense is built around. Petzing with the Cardinals was an explosive run author. They were second in the league in his tenure in explosive play rate. And he does it in really creative ways. They didn't have an elite offensive line there, but what they did have were 3 tight end sets. He did 13 personnel before it was cool with Sean McVay. So expect creative rushing attacks in Detroit to solve that offensive line issue.
I like it. The Lions are the favorite to win the NFC North at DraftKings, looking for their 3rd division title in the last 4 years. Let's go to the Commanders, where Ben posed the following question on the offense being installed by new OC David Blau. What does a Cliff Kingsbury, Ben Johnson hybrid offense look like? I don't know. I mean, it sounds great to me. What do you expect Blau's offense to look like?
Your guess is as best as mine. We're going to have to see this one play out because, as Ben wrote, dramatic gap between what Cliff Kingsbury ran with Jaden Daniels in Washington and what you've seen from Chicago and Ben Johnson and similar offenses. One thing I'm interested in addition to Jaden Daniels fit under center is how the run game looks with this evolution, because the Washington Commanders ran from under center at the lowest rate in football last year. So much of the run game was predicated on the threat of Daniels keeping the ball out of the gun. Now, if you're going to see more under center runs, you need more from the skill players blocking, and David Blau also, similar to Ben Johnson, has to figure out ways to set up the backs to succeed with motion and formation. This, to me, is going to be one of the more interesting storylines in football.
Yeah, they got to figure it out quick, too. The Commanders are the only team in the NFL to begin the season with 2 straight road divisional games at the Eagles and then the Cowboys. Who did that? Oh, my goodness. Okay, we end in Seattle with their new OC, Brian Fleury, where Ben asks, what can the Seahawks rely on besides Jackson Smith and Jigba? And you posed the question there, Ben, so what's the answer? We begin with you again.
Yeah, heck if I know. Hopefully Brian Fleury knows, man. And Jackson Smith-Njigba had 44% of the team's receiving yards last season. That's the biggest number we've seen in the last 15 years. He is a load-bearing wall, all right? And the entire offseason, teams study the Super Bowl winner and try to figure out how to beat that team. And so with the Seahawks offense, it's going to be forcing anybody but JSN to be the driving force there. Now, Fleury comes from San Francisco, and the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan have always been really good at, getting one-off performances from their guys. This is the George Kittle game. Here's the Deebo Samuel game. Here's the Brandon Ayuk game. Not anymore Brandon Ayuk, but you know what I'm talking about. They cycle through their offensive playmakers. So now you turn to guys like Rashid Shaheed, and you turn to a guy like A.J. Barner, and you say, can we make you guys features of the passing attack for just one game, for just two games, and lighten the load there on Smith-Njigba? It's that, plus a reimagined rushing attack now that Kenneth Walker is gone, but that's a real challenge. The Seahawks were 22nd in rushing success rate last year, didn't really add to the offensive line. It's an uphill battle for Fleury.
Yeah, my intel out of Seattle is that you mentioned Rashid Shaheed. He's going to be more prominently featured. He had a killer spring, I'm told. Came in midseason at the trade deadline. He didn't know all the routes. Now he does. Sam Darnold got his rapport with him. They're going to be getting after it this fall. Zach Charbonnet, the running back, has a knee issue, but in late July, I'm told he's getting a medical checkup. They're hoping he can be back week one to be a little optimistic, but they are hopeful. And then lastly, you're going to see in this offense more motions, more shifts, similar to what San Francisco did. Brian Fleury comes from that tree. Sam Darnold was there 2 years ago, so he's certainly comfortable with that type of offense. He's got the timing down on it. So A.J. Barner, you mentioned him. He's going to be running around before the ball snapped very often in the fall.
I love it. Again, all of these articles available on ESPN.com. Ben doing a great job just getting us what we want as football fans this time of year. You mentioned the motion. Okay, let's dig into those numbers on Seahawks motion last season. And they were near the bottom of the league in terms of how often they used it, ranking 28th in percent of plays with interceptions and leading the NFL in yards per attempt. So, Mina, we will likely see more motion like Jeremy's talking about here. How will that change things for Seattle in your mind?
Yeah, you know who else was great off of motion? Jackson Smith-Njigba. Obviously, he was great at everything, but when he was targeted after using motion in that Seattle offense, it was only 17 targets. He caught 15 of them for 189 yards. It is a way to get him access off the line of scrimmage, to figure out, by the way, what defenses' intentions are, because so much attention is paid to him. That could clarify things for Sam Darnold. And also create opportunities for the rest of the offense, as you guys discussed earlier with Ben. Because so much attention is already paid to him, if you put Smith-Njigba in motion, then you're able to create space for the rest of the Seahawks playmakers. So I do like the idea of using motion more often, both in the run and the pass game.
I'm going to go check my phone after this and try to figure out exactly how many days until the football season, because you guys have me way too excited to see some actual games. All right, we got more coming right here on NFL Live. Caleb Downs, check it out, but a great article over on ESPN.com looking at some of the progress each of the first-round picks made in the spring. So we're going to begin in New Orleans, where Catherine Terrell wrote this about 8th overall pick Jordan Tyson. The Saints have been cautious with Tyson after he spent the lead up to April's draft rehabbing injuries sustained during college, so there hasn't been much to see on the field yet. But Tyson's teammates have spoken highly about what they've seen from him so far, with quarterback Tyler Shuck raving about him. He's jumped in even in these walkthroughs. He hasn't messed a play up, missed a beat. Nina, what do you expect to see from Tyson on that Saints offense?
Big things. I'm excited about the fit with Chris Olave. I'm also really excited about the fit with the Saints' young quarterback, Tyler Shuck, because for a young quarterback last year, I thought he was very willing and able to throw over the middle of the field. In fact, between the numbers, he was second in on-target rate, 7th in QBR, and that's where I think Jordan Tyson thrives, with his big frame and his strong hands, in-breakers, slants, digs. To me, that's where he wants to live, and it's also where Tyler Shuck wants to live too.
I love it. Let's go to Washington next, where our John Keim had this write-up about Sonny Styles. Styles' closing speed was evident throughout the spring, as was his football acumen. According to teammates and coaches, he impressed with his preparation and knowledge and how he handled wearing the green dot on his helmet. All he wants to talk about is football. Linebackers coach Ken Norton Jr. said that's music to a lot of people's ears. Ben, what do you make of the rookie wearing the green dot? That's big.
I stand in awe of it. I mean, that is sick, right? Think about the shoes that he's stepping into. Bobby Wagner was wearing the green dot in Washington. That's one of the more cerebral linebackers of the last 2 decades. Now, It's a new defensive language in Washington, right? Durante Jones coming from Brian Flores' defense, and you've got a ton of new pieces. Leo Chenal, Adafe Owe, Nick Cross. So it's all on styles. There's not really a lot of veterans with experience in the system here to figure stuff out. It's going to be on styles to get this team lined up. And if he can play fast, right, that 4.46 speed, he's going to be a big ceiling raiser there in Washington.
As great as he is talent-wise and physicality-wise, it's that brain that I think may continue to impress. Let's go to Dallas next, where Todd Archer weighed in on Caleb Downs' progress, writing, he's won over veterans with his work on and off the field. He won over coaches with how quickly he's picked up things. He has played in the slot, where he'll likely get most of his snaps, as well as each safety spot. He's a worker. He looks for coaching. He craves that. He wants to be corrected. He wants more information, defensive coordinator Christian Parker said. You love that. That sounds like a coach's dream, right? Jeremy, what are you hearing about how Downs and his potential will be used this fall?
Yeah, Laura, since he is such a quick study, he can play multiple spots, either in a nickel safety format or being in the slot as a corner, but they want to be careful with that. I'm told they want to play to his strengths, which is vision and instincts. That's where he's at his best. So they want to get him in space and help him go attack the ball downhill. But he's going to play a lot. He's going to play early. Dallas is not quite a finished product defensively.
Right.
They feel like they're good at safety in some other spots. They've been looking for a linebacker for a long time, so it could be one to watch leading up to training camp. Jordan Brooks out of Miami, high-profile player that they've at least kicked the tires on, although I don't think the Dolphins want to trade him.
Mina.
Sorry, that got me going. Yeah, Caleb Downs. Yeah, just that would be such a good fit for them. Caleb Downs, he's kind of on paper the answer to what every defense is looking for right now in terms of the ability to stop the run without putting an extra linebacker on the field, right? You think about in Seattle, Nicky Manwari. In Philadelphia, his old team, Cooper DeJean, both nickels who are exceptional. In Philadelphia, his old team, Cooper DeJean, both nickels who are exceptional against the run and allow those teams to live in their sub packages and keeping those guys on the field where they can also defend tight ends and sometimes slot receivers in coverage. Caleb Downs can do all of those things. However, the difference between Dallas and those two defenses is weakness at the linebacker position, which Jeremy alluded to, and then I would say the cornerbacks are a little bit less trustworthy and you can't leave them on islands in the same way. But I am very optimistic about Downs as primarily the nickel, probably playing safety and base. And to me, the start of something with Christian Parker, him as that foundational piece is really promising.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are over here like Dallas is going to have the best defense in the NFL next season. But Ben, is a moderate improvement on the defensive side of the ball enough to make the Cowboys contenders considering how good we think their offense will be?
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen top 5 offense plus average defense be a viable approach to the Super Bowl in the last 10 or so years of football. What wasn't last year, right? Seahawks kind of zagged, everybody else zagged. But you can be an elite offense. And Dallas was 8th in DVOA, 5th in points per drive. They lost nobody in the offseason. George Pickens is coming back. They can put 30, 35 on you. If that defense can just get a couple of stops, they were 30th in turnovers per drive. Get lucky. Do the Bears thing from last season. Just get some picks, force some fumbles, create enough positive plays that your offense drives the ship and you carry your own weight. So to me, linebacker, schminebacker. All right, we ain't worried about it. Caleb Downs going to be an impactful playmaker. DeMarvion Overshown's coming back from injury. He was really impactful in 2024. There's enough pieces here that I believe in Christian Parker, playing that too high shell, putting an umbrella on opposing offenses, and just keeping the defense afloat such that we can get to a big postseason run.
Yeah, and I think for all the focus on Downs, rightfully so, first-round draft pick, the Cowboys did add a lot of capable veterans elsewhere. Kobe Durant from the Rams is a capable cover corner. Jalen Thompson is a decent safety. And up front, I don't think this pass rush is lighting the world on fire, but Rashawn Gary certainly will help against the run, too, and we'll see what they get out of Malachi Lawrence. If you were to add Jordan Brooks, just to go back to what Jeremy said, to that second level,
yes,
that's where I start thinking less about can this defense be average or below average, and more can this be a top 10 to 12-ish defense? Because I do think with that sort of linebacker improvement, that could be in the cards with all of the other additions that they've made.
Yeah, I mean, how realistic is this Jordan Brooks thing? Now I'm salivating at that prospect as well.
Well, in an ideal world, Miami would like to sign him to a contract extension because they have a couple players that they consider core pieces. They signed some of them like running back Devon Achane. So they feel like they're in transition, but they have a few players they really like. Brooks is one of them. So it would probably take a lot. But Dallas has been sort of scouring the earth all offseason for linebackers. They looked at Patrick Queen in Pittsburgh a little bit. Like they've looked at the options. It just hasn't been able to to come to fruition yet. But it could be something when we get closer to training camp, teams start to work the phones again, they're off vacation,
Get us all
they're
excited.
back from Europe, and maybe something happens.
Yeah, the Cowboys, by the way, report to training camp on July 28th in Oxnard, California. That is 4 weeks from tomorrow. Still ahead, the Bengals made major changes to their defense this offseason, but were they enough to get back to championship form? Someone here still isn't convinced. We'll explain more. Lined up as a defensive tackle, Lawrence will be a welcome addition for a Bengals defense that was 28th in pressures from interior linemen in the previous 5 years. So basically, nothing's been happening over there. Jeremy, what are you hearing, though, about Lawrence's first offseason with Cincinnati?
Laura, I'm hearing he's brought some good vibes into the locker room. They wanted a tone setter, somebody who would take command of that front seven defensively. I'm told he's done that. He was a fixture in offseason workouts. He's bringing some of the younger players in, shepherding their development. The Bengals have like 5 or 6 D linemen that they like. They feel like they finally got a rotation where not everybody has to play 60 snaps a game. They can get guys in and out of there. And Dexter Lawrence really wanted 2 things. He wanted a new contract and new relationships based on what happened with the Giants and how things kind of got sideways. He's got both of those now in Cincinnati, so he's pretty highly motivated.
Yeah, one of the things that we kept hearing out of minicamp is how there was a lot of optimism around this team. I mean, Joe Burrow, even Ben, was comparing this team to the 2019 LSU Tigers, which he led to a national championship in college. There's a lot of things to be excited about, right? But then when you look at the defense as a whole, where is the biggest concern?
Memphis Grizzlies, Portland Rock.
It's at linebacker. It's the guys behind Dexter Lawrence there.
As much as
it's at linebacker. It's the guys behind Dexter Lawrence there. And I understand the theory, right? They played 2 rookies last year, Demetrius Knight and Barrett Carter. Throw them into the deep end, let them learn on the job. And, if we improve the defensive line, these guys' jobs will get a lot easier, right? The picture will clear up for them. That's all well and good, but we're not talking about like up and down play last season. We're talking about really rough play. They were the leading duo in terms of missed tackle rate at linebacker. They had one of the lowest tackle for loss rates. They struggled to get behind the line of scrimmage. They just didn't know what they were seeing. We call it drinking through a fire hose, right? When you're a rookie out there and just your head spinning with all the information. So in theory, things get clear when Lawrence is there in the run defense. But that's only half the gig. There's pass defense too. And this modern NFL is so good at targeting linebackers in the passing game. I'm worried about that position still in Cincinnati.
They really are the Cowboys Midwest, man. We're coming off that block talking about the Cowboys team. I mean, the teams are so similar. Similar offenses, 2 elite wide receivers, great quarterback, improved defense, but linebacker is the question. I do think the pass defense will be improved, and you actually saw that last season, the second half of the year. You saw their metrics against the pass get better. I thought the young cornerbacks, particularly Dex Hill, were very good, and obviously Lawrence and Mafe will hope up front. But can they stop the run? I do not know. That remains a question mark, largely because of that linebacker position. I do think the offense can help. You're playing with leads. Maybe defenses are forced to pass more, but it remains a question mark, largely because of what Ben talked about. And shoot, maybe they should be on the phone about Jordan Brooks too.
I know, we're sending Jordan Brooks everywhere, right? But Ben, if you do see Dexter Lawrence taking on some of these double teams, who benefits on the other side?
Yeah, when we talk about the pass rush with Boye and Mafe, we talk about Cassius Howell. We're talking about Lawrence's ability not just to take double teams, but also create pressures out of those double teams. It's something knacky that he does pretty much better than anybody else. In 2024, before he got hurt, he led the league in double tackle rate at defensive tackle. He also had 9 sacks. You can't do that. That's elite. That's not real. Like you can't make those plays when you're getting that much offensive attention. And so it's not just his gravity, but it's his ability to disrupt while taking on blockers that then really clarifies the other roles, creates those one-on-ones. But again, if you want to be all defensive line oriented, you need to have that deep room, like we talked about, having multiple lanes of pass rushers. But you still need to have sticky cover guys. I love those young corners, linebackers and coverage, man. When defenses have an Achilles heel in the modern NFL, it is linebackers and coverage.
Yeah, the Bengals have a 69% chance to make the playoffs. That's according to ESPN Analytics, and that's 4th highest in the NFL. So people banking on them right now. Okay, time for one more thing before we go. And Packers fans have to be smiling watching this. Micah Parsons on the pickleball court, working out with Jordan Love. Parsons, of course, tore his ACL in December. He's moving around pretty well. A reminder, by the way, the Packers have him on a 9-month rehab, which would basically mean a return to action likely in mid-October. There's that Cowboys game week 6. But I don't know, Jeremy, looks like he's moving okay. Anything we need to know about Parsons' return and the progress there?
Pickleball's easy on the knees. Even though I love pickleball's taking all the basketball courts around the country, that's a different story. He seems to be moving okay, and there's no risk here. Like, he's going to be fine. It's better than him doing something that's a little more aggressive.
Yeah, Mina, you think about what he's going to bring back to that defense. It makes you excited, right?
Yeah, I'm very excited. I just love the off seasons. We get these guys who are injured playing pickleball and celebrity softball, and we're like slowing it down, watching the movement of their knees, trying to figure out whether they're on track. But I do think that this is a sign of optimism for Micah Parsons, and the Packers really need him today.